Hi, I'm Roy, and this is my Nissan Skyline 1972.
Hey Roy, so remember I shot this car maybe about 7, 8 years ago? And it looked totally different from before, right?
Yes, it was a Hot Wheels car back then.
Right, it was like white, blue. Let's talk about the changes that you've made since then.
Well, I changed the headlight covers to the coupe versions that are used in the racing cars from the 1970s. There's now a Rocket Bunny body kit on it.
How was that to fit? Was it pretty hard, or was it more like bolt-on, or?
As with most Rocket Bunny kits, it is almost perfect on the initial fitting. The only people that would worry about it are much older cars like this, where they may have been messed up through the years from the prior owners. But if you have a straight car, it should fit no problem.
Yeah, what kind of challenges did you go through fitting this thing, since you said older car that's been messed with?
This rear quarter panel was cut unevenly, so they had to refill it, re-weld some material to get it to fit properly. But other than that, the only thing that's scary is you have to cut that front fender pretty deep.
Yeah. Do you not care about cutting such a historic car?
If it was a GTR, I would advise against it, but this is just a GT. It's kind of like having a 68 Mustang, but that it's not a GT500, so it's okay to cut it up, you know.
That's funny. So what's the difference between this and, say, like the legit GTR, Hakosuka?
Well, the biggest difference is obviously the drivetrain. You would get the S20 motor, which is a dual overhead cam, 2-liter straight six. This one has a turbocharged 2.8-liter single overhead cam. So it doesn't rev as high, but it's still a great motor, very torquey.
So this isn't a factory engine that you have in here, right? Can we pop it? Let's check it out. You've done a lot of changes since then, and you said you boosted this thing, right?
Yes. So the guys at Harman Restoration rebuilt the motor, and the owner was kind enough to let me purchase a CarTech intercooled turbo kit from the early 1980s that was meant for the 280ZX.
Wow.
It was a complete kit, and that's what made it an offer I couldn't refuse.
So this is still carbureted, right?
Yes, sir.
So why didn't you go with, say, a modern fuel injection setup with, say, you know, a updated standalone?
Nothing against that kind of modification, but this is kind of more period correct. It's kind of more true to the original style of the car. You don't see blow-through turbos very often, so it makes it unique to stand out amongst the crowd of RB swaps and SR20 swaps. And
yeah. Now this engine's got the exhaust and intake manifold on the same side, right?
Yes, sir.
What do they call that?
It's the opposite of what a cross flow head is. That's all I can say. I'm not that technically savvy.
Yeah. So tell us the story of how you got this car, because I remember it was quite eventful day.
Well, I found it in an ad online in Japan in 2005. I had to drive 3 hours out to meet the owner of the car in the sticks of the Gunma grass fields, and let's just say they were of a questionable occupancy. Their job was questionable.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Look for Dion's old video.
Yeah.
And we struck a deal, and I came back a week later, and it was completely the opposite. It was friendly faces, and here's your keys, here it is, it's all washed up, and the wheels that you wanted are on it. Have a nice day. But the day that I got it was more like an interview from some questionable people.
So they just didn't want to let this car go to anyone, right?
No, I can firsthand experience say that is a true thing. They don't like letting these cars go, but if they feel you're, I guess, worthy, then they will.
Yeah.
But money has a lot of worth too, though. So
I remember what you said, and let's tell our viewers what you said about why you wanted to buy the car to the Japanese.
So the guy that wouldn't talk to me in English looked down at me because he was the tallest Japanese guy I ever met. And he had a translator next to him and he said, "Why do you want to buy this car?" First words, not konnichiwa, not hello. Why do you want to buy this car? And I said in my broken Japanese, Hakosuka ichiban ne, which is roughly, isn't the Hakosuka Skyline #1? And I guess that was good enough for me to continue asking more questions.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, for him to ask me more questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Job interview to buy the car.
Yes, pretty much.
Crazy.
At least that's what it felt like.
And then how'd you bring this over? I mean, this is, not a very common car to just ship over.
Well, I was in the military at the time, and there are provisions for military people to have their cars shipped back at no cost to the owner.
Wow, that's insane.
Yes.
So you saved a lot of money.
Very fortunate, yes.
Yeah. So this thing still needs to get tuned, but how much power do you think this thing's making?
We've built the block with all turbo internals, so it's good for 354. We just haven't had time to get around to tune the carbs.
Right. So how do you tune the carbs? Because, with a fuel injection setup, you just mess with the injectors, the fuel pump, etc.
Yeah. Well, with carburetors, you have to take them all apart and remove the jets. But you don't necessarily have to remove the carburetor units from the engine.
Right.
There are ways to get to the jets and remove the jets. But there are needles and jets and jet blocks and all this stuff that I don't understand. But the guys at Kyusha House, Taka-san over there,
right,
he knows what's up.
Right. So
these were set up specifically for a turbo application by him.
How much do these things go for nowadays?
Realistically, you can get your foot in the door, I want to say in 2022, a decent one with a L28, you could probably get one for 100,000.
100 grand?
110.
And is that like a...
Well, the last two I've seen for sale on Bringer Trailer sold for 135 and the other one sold for 170.
Completely stock?
No, modified.
Slightly modified.
Yeah, like maybe a 3-liter Rebello engine or a 2.8 with 44 millimeter carbs.
Right.
Maybe some good body work done to it, not a rust bucket.
What's a GTR Hakosuka go for?
Oh, those are easily 300-400 without question.
That's
without
insane.
question.
That's insane. Let's talk about your suspension and wheel setup here.
The suspension is from M Speed, specifically for the Hakosuka. The rear springs are made by Rubber Soul. The wheel and tire setups are from Watanabe. They're 15 by 10 in the front, 15 by 12 in the rear, with Toyo R888Rs all around.
Wow, that's cool. No spacers?
I did have to add a 25 millimeter spacer in the back just to fill it, but it's not necessary.
Right. How much wider is this kit than the factory? Like 60 mil, 80?
Than factory? Well, factory there would be none.
Right.
Except the rear, if you had a GTR,
right,
it's probably, I don't know, maybe 70 mil.
70
maybe
mil.
80 mil in the rear compared to a GTR fender.
Wow,
that's just off the top of my head. And then the front would be like 60 right off the bat because they don't come with fender flares in the front.
Yeah, they make it feel a lot different with a wide body setup?
Yes, well you have a much wider track with that.
Yeah.
And the Rocket Bunny is specifically designed to cut into the fender really hard so that if you have a really wide wheel in the front, when you go full lock, it doesn't hit the metal.
Oh, I see. And here's the crazy part. Roy actually drives this thing back and forth from Vegas to, say, JCCS, which is in Orange County.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And this thing's slammed, dude.
It's all right. The only problem is the bell housing for the transmission.
You are crazy. Hey, explain to the guys who want to rock this LED tail setup how they can get their hands on one and how you come upon that.
Okay, comically, I was sitting behind a mail delivery vehicle and I noticed that they were ironically the exact same size just by eyeballing it with these metal bezels. Went on eBay or Amazon or something, I took a chance, $5 for a pair, picked them up, put them in, and they are a perfect fit.
That's
as
so
if it was
funny.
A custom job.
That's the only thing modern about this car, right? The
That
LED
is,
tail
yeah,
lights.
other than the radio, yeah.
Yeah, wow. What about the exhaust setup? What is that? Is it custom?
It is an original trussed exhaust, period correct. However, from the axle back, it's been modified for clearance.
Interesting.
But it is specific for a Hakosuka.
That's awesome. Let's check out the interior.
Sure.
So what we got here?
There's a Danson competition seat. There is a Momo classic steering wheel with a modified horn button to make it look like the original GTR steering wheel.
Right.
There's a new complement of gauges so I can monitor my car, air-fuel ratio, voltmeter, boost gauge.
Right.
There's a HKS turbo timer with the hard buttons that is also period correct, and a HKS boost controller that is a manual boost controller, also period correct.
Is this a fan?
Yeah, that's a fan.
Is that your AC?
That is my AC.
Oh man. Explain these things to the new generation that don't know.
Okay, so you'll see lots of fake ones. This is a fake one, obviously. This is a novelty one because it's a heart. But in Japan, you were like a gangster, you were a bad guy, because the only way you could get these is you would unscrew them and take them off of trains.
And what do they do that for?
They would normally hang it inside their car, like as a handle, or they'd hang it on the back of their car on their tow hook just to show that they're
Sign of rebellion or
that
something?
rebellion that they could get them, yeah.
Wow, okay.
All right, we're gonna go for a quick drive through Red Rock Canyon. As long as I can get over this cattle thing. Oh, God damn it.
What was that?
I don't know. Hold on. God, it didn't look that low. I think I know what it was.
Bell housing?
Probably the bell housing, because you know it's graded.
Yeah.
So it's got all these like bars. Probably hit one of them and then it like ding.
I can teach you how to drive a lowered car if you want.
Funny. Originally, we were just going to rebuild the motor just back to L28 carbureted, but he happened to have this complete CarTech turbo kit that was restored, and his intent was to put it in his own personal Z car. But once I came back a week later to drop off the car, we discussed the possibility of maybe me purchasing it to put it in that car, into this car. And we struck a deal that I couldn't refuse, and 6 months later, here we are. Blow-through turbocharged 1972 Nissan Skyline. Unheard of.